Here's Maradona, and England have contained him pretty well so far. This looking dangerous. That's a poor clearance. Maradona with Shilton. Looked like handball, that. Maradona celebrating, and the goal's going to be given. Shilton furious, and so is Peter Reid. And the England manager, Bobby Robson, can't believe it.
I've got to say it's tongue-in-cheek a little bit because of what happened was Diego Maradona. You know, he was, you know, a great player. You know, and I think, you know, what he did for Argentina on his own was incredible. Pelé, I think, was the best player of all time, but he had a great team around him. Maradona won the World Cup, a bit by cheating us on the way. But he didn't have a great team around him, and I think he kind of single-handedly won that World Cup for that year. Well, I think, in a way, sort of the Maradona incident when he cheated and got away with it, although from a goalkeeping point of view, I couldn't have done any more. Sometimes people say, you know, I could have knocked his head off and all that sort of thing. But, you know, I probably would have liked to have done that, because as a goalkeeper, when you go for something, you have to take your defenders, the referee, you know, fairly, but you have to get the ball. And in that instance, I was getting it, just knocking it away, and that's why he put it in with his hand. But after a long career, it's sort of something that people always bring up for the wrong reasons. The World Cup semi-final, when we were so close to beating the Germans in Turin, in Italy '90, and from club level, I think it was probably the second European Cup win against Kevin Keegan's Hamburg in the Bernabeu in Real Madrid's ground. I'm very proud. It could have been a lot more. You know, I did play for 20 years for England, and my old friend and rival at the time was Ray Clemens, and Don Revie picked Ray in front of me for 3 years. I played the odd game, but I didn't really play at all. And yeah, so it could have been, you know, 160 caps quite easily, 170 even. But Ray was a great goalkeeper, so you know, I'm not begrudging Ray the amount of caps he got. But no, I think when David Beckham was getting quite close to it, although a lot of his appearances were substitute appearances, you know, listen, one day somebody might beat the record, and I'll be the first one to sort of congratulate them, you know, but I would like it to be that they've played most of their games for full 90 minutes and etc. But I think it's going to be very hard. For two entertaining teams, the first half was a bit of a stalemate. There wasn't a lot going on. It was, you know, a bit defensive, which was probably natural. And the first goal was always going to be vital in the game. And of course, the Hand of God goal was that first goal. And all I remember was that I think Maradona played the ball into the box and went for a 1-2, and would have been offside. But I think it was one of our own players, Stevie Hodge, who actually lost his balance and hooked the ball backwards towards our own goal. And it wasn't even a time for a decision, really. I just instinct said, I've got to go for this, because otherwise he would have brought it down and had an open goal, really. Never saw him. We just got off the pitch as quickly as possible. The only player, I think, was Stevie Hodge, who went back out on the pitch and swapped shirts with Maradona, and I think he's now worth quite a lot of money. But no, and I've never met him since. There's been opportunities for people to say, look, would you shake hands with him? And I said, look, you would never say never, but it would have to be done in the right circumstances, because for me it wasn't just the fact that he cheated, got away with it, because it's been done many times since. You know, goalkeepers pull the ball back from behind the line and carry on playing. It's always going to go on in football, but after the game, I think it's an instinct thing, you know, with players and goalkeepers. But after the game, you kind of admit to it and say, look, I'm sorry, you know, I shouldn't have done it, but I got away with it. But I think the fact he's never done that has been the reason that I think the country and even the England players, like for example Terry Butcher, said he wouldn't shake hands with him, and I certainly wouldn't until he apologises properly, you know. Just couldn't believe it. And maybe a lot of other games wouldn't have restarted, you know, because a lot of South American teams would have demonstrated so much that I don't think the game would have started. But certainly afterwards, I mean, we had a manager, Bobby Robson, who was a gentleman. You know, he was very upset about the incident. The players were upset, but he wasn't going to go in and grab the referee by the scruff of the neck and, you know, yell and scream and shout to find out what had gone on. It was too late by then. You know, the game's over, and you're just going to, you know, belittle yourself even more. And that was the nature of, I think, England players and the England manager we had at the time, that we protested, obviously, but to a certain level, and then we got on with the game. The one tournament was obviously Italia 90, the next World Cup, where, again, we started very poorly, but if we'd have beaten the Germans, which I thought on the night we came very, very close as I've ever done against the Germans. I think then we had a great chance against Argentina, because Maradona and the team were the team they were in Mexico, and I think it would have been our big moment, but it wasn't to be.